Hey everyone, Vazzy back here, and today I wanted to make a video on how EA could add special events into franchise mode. I want to start by saying I don't expect this anytime soon, any of these ideas. And a lot of these are going to be kind of building off my wishlist video that I released a couple months ago, featuring similar events. I think there is one or two new ones that I didn't mention before, but I just wanted to make a video kind of explaining them a bit more and kind of seeing how they could work in franchise mode. But again, I do just want to make my point clear. I don't expect any of these to be added anytime soon. This is all just kind of concepts and ideas on how I could see them being added, or how I think they should be added in the future. Alright, so let's get into the video. So in today's video, I have 4 different events that I wanted to talk about. The first is the World Junior Championship. The second is the NHL AllStar Game and Skills Competition. Third is the Winter Classic and Heritage Classics, and the fourth is the Olympics. All these events we currently don't really have anything for in-game in franchise mode right now, but they all are pretty rather significant events that happen in the hockey world each year. A lot of these would just bring that added depth to franchise mode, which I find is kind of lacking right now. Sometimes the mode can seem rather shallow, and I think even just mentions of some of these modes and tournaments and events could really add to the overall experience of franchise mode. Alright, so let's get started. The first event we'll be talking about today is the annual World Junior Hockey Tournament. So personally, this is one that I think wouldn't be that hard to really implement, as really we do have the World Junior Championships already in game. I think a lot of people do forget about that. And really, for this event, in franchise mode, you're controlling your NHL team. So I don't think you actually have to implement the tournament itself into the mode. Just more the existence of the tournament and that it actually is happening outside of your team. So basically, for an example, it'll run from the 26th, let's just say, of December to the 14th of January, let's just say. So technically there's not actually going to be a tournament that you're going to be playing in the mode, but it's more going to relate to the roster management of your players. So for an example here, sorry for my bad Photoshop, I have a couple examples throughout this video, but let's say you're Chicago. You have Connor Bedard, he's doing pretty good, and all of a sudden you get this prompt that he's been selected to Team Canada. You can either loan him to Team Canada, or you can keep him on your active roster. That kind of makes a choice of how do I want this player to develop. Do I want him to actually play for Team Canada, go have that experience, maybe if he's struggling, have him play against younger individuals again, or do I want to keep him on the NHL roster and maybe have him help us make that push to the playoffs a little bit more? It kind of gives you different experiences and different ways to play the mode and adds a little bit more strategy without actually having the tournament in franchise mode itself. And then yeah, really from there you'd just be able to accept the player loan and you'd get him back in the 2 weeks or whatever, or have a button that says decline player loan. I actually realize I am missing the decline player loan button, but you get the idea. So that's kind of how I would implement the World Junior Championships in-game, just some acknowledgement that it's actually going on and some strategy regarding the players on the roster. So up next is a similar concept, but it is regarding the Olympic tournament. So similar to the World Junior Championship, if you really did want to, you could put the actual Olympic tournament into franchise mode itself. I think that would be a little bit too much programming wise and all that, but I just want some acknowledgement that it is going on, the players on my team that are going, how they're doing, and how each country is kind of doing as well. So this is kind of how I would do it. Basically, I think it's every 4 years the Olympics are held. You have a break in the schedule for the 2 weeks, 3 weeks, whatever it is, just like how it is in the games when the Olympic tournament does come up. But you have a prompt that comes up to you, it's saying if any of your players have been named to the Olympic roster. So exactly shown on screen here, I'm using Tampa Bay as the example. Stamkos, Kucherov, and Vasilevsky were all selected to their respective Olympic teams. Maybe I'd put what team they're selected to, but that's just a small thing that easily could be added. But just a small thing that shows what players actually made it to each team. And then from there, I think it would just be cool in the activity feed. It's pretty useless right now overall, and I think it could just be a small message saying each team how they did. Like as I put, congratulations to Team Canada for winning gold at the Olympics. Just stuff like that's cool to know. Doesn't affect your franchise mode at all. But it would also show kind of what players from each team won at the Olympics, and I don't know, just a small thing that adds a decent amount of depth to franchise mode. The next event I would like to see added to franchise mode is the Winter Classic or the Heritage Classic. This is something that we have seen in previous NHL games before. It has been a little while, but it is something that desperately does need to return in some way. Currently in the NHL, we see so many of these games each year, whether it's the Winter Classic itself, the various Stadium Series games that occur, or the Heritage Classic games that are all held regularly each NHL season. What I would do if I was EA was I would add in at the start of each season in franchise mode that each team has to put in a respective bid to host a Winter Classic type game. So let's say I'm Tampa Bay, I put in a, let's just say $500,000 bid, I don't know, just random number out there, that I want to host an NHL outdoor game. From there, if my team does win and is selected to host one of these games, I get to choose the opponent for my team. So let's just say if I'm Tampa, I'm choosing Florida, keep it in Florida here, and you guys play at a random outdoor game stadium. And overall, I wouldn't be asking for much here from the actual stadiums itself. I'm just saying for EA to come up with 2 or 3 just generic stadiums that could be used to host these games, with obviously logos and stuff being interchangeable for each team. I don't think that's that much to ask, and is something that I could see happening in the future. But also, by adding the Winter Classics in here, it does kind of make budgets a little bit more useful as well, because currently I think a lot of us probably play with owner mode off, and these budgets are really just useless. But now, if you add these in, or the Winter Classic in, sorry, now it kind of makes it more like, do I want to save a little bit of money here, and maybe try and up my bid for the Winter Classic, and try and have that for my team. I think it could be a cool idea, I just don't know if EA will ever actually add it. The last event we will be looking at here today is the NHL AllStar Game and the NHL Skills Competition. This to me is probably the one that I'm most confused on why we don't actually have in-game currently. If you look on the calendar, as I'm showing here on screen, it's just nothing, just a blank date. There is time off in between for the All-Star Game, but there's actually nothing going on in between that time. It's even weirder that it was in the game a couple of years ago, and then I think when the console generation happened last time around, going into NHL 15 I want to say it was removed. I could be wrong on that, but it's just still weird either way. And also, it is kind of weird that we do have all these teams already in game. We have the Central, we have the Pacific, we have the Metro, and we have the Atlantic. And all these teams' rosters I do believe get updated each year with the real all-star rosters. So that's another weird thing that EA has the teams added in, but not the actual game itself. But overall, this is a little bit different than the Olympic tournament and the World Junior Championship tournament that I talked about earlier, as the All-Star Game I would actually like to see playable in franchise mode. Each team, just as real life, would get at least one representative per team, and you would be playing as the team whatever division you're in. So let's say I'm Tampa Bay, I would be in the Atlantic division, and that would just kind of be how you're assigned. But this actually does have to be playable in franchise mode itself. And then just talking about other All-Star Game festivities. This was taken from one of Tactic's videos. I was watching it earlier this morning. We had these skills competition events in the game in prior years that have been since removed. As you can see here, you have the shooting accuracy, where you have to shoot 4 targets in a certain amount of time, just like they do in real life. I'd absolutely love to see something like this in game. Try and see if I can beat the computer and hit all the 4 targets the fastest. And really, that's not all. There's other events like the fastest skater. I know it's not exactly how they do it in the All-Star Game, but still a concept like this would be really cool. Again, taken from Tactic's video, where you have to go through the cones, you have to try and do it the fastest. I would love to try and beat the computer in a challenge like this, and just put all these events together and really make it one cool skills competition. I think there's also, they used to have the hardest shot as well, so just put all these together and put it in a separate little mini game in franchise mode. I think that'd be really cool. So I think that's going to probably do it for today's video, kind of going over some of the special events I wanted to see added into franchise mode, and kind of how I would go about them. Let me know down in the comments, how would you guys go about these different ideas? Do you kind of agree with what I'm saying, or would you guys do things a little bit different? Also, let me know, is there any events that I missed that you guys would like to see added into franchise mode? I'm sure there's some stuff that's definitely I missed and would be really cool to see added in. But yeah, let me know down in the comments below, and I will see you all in the next video.